What's today's date?
Today is October 13th.
Who's here today?
Here is my son, Peter, my grandson, Oliver, and my wife and your mother is somewhere with your wife meant somewhere else. Okay, it's here. Okay, I was born in Debrecen, Hungary, and Debrecen was always Hungary. You know where my father was born in Beregszász. Beregszász for a while was Hungary, then we became Czechoslovakia, and Hungary again, now is Ukraine.
What? What's Ukraine?
Ukraine, where my father was born, and Tommy's father too.
It's called what?
Ukraine.
What was the town?
Beregszász.
Hungary, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Ukraine.
No. First was Hungary, then became Czechoslovakia, then we became Hungary again. Now is Ukraine.
So the town that they were born in
the town didn't change.
Town didn't change. The country that owned it is.
A country became.
Okay.
So I was born in Debrecen, 1934,
Yep.
February 25th, and I was told it was a very cold day. They had to, in a nagy erdőbe, you know what's a nagy erdő?
Nagy is big, erdő is forest.
Yeah. In Debrecen, you have the town part, and they have the erdő part. On the erdő part ott voltak a kórházak, meg
Kórház is hospital. Kórház is hospital.
So, to go there, my mother went earlier. I don't know how did it go. I think one thing for sure, didn't let my father into the birth. That time, even when you were born.
Yep.
I didn't go in when he was born. Didn't allow it. You were allowed when he was born, or your brother. Anyway, so that time my father was a traveling merchant. Traveling meant they went from town to town to town to fairs, and that's why they know that in this follow. You know what a follow is?
Follow?
Follow is a
town.
No.
Follow is village.
A village has Monday street fair. Okay? Tuesday, another town. So night he was traveling. The famous thing was happened when he was traveling. He had a driver who was in the World War II and
World War I,
and he had a wooden. One of the legs was a wooden stick.
What? Who?
The driver.
Your father's driver?
It's not my father's driver. Many of the merchants, whoever they can get in. 2, 3, you know.
The guy had a wooden leg?
Had from here to here, like now they're making the extension.
Right.
Has a wooden leg, and he was driving at night always. And every time, I didn't want both of you them to fall asleep, and he went like this. My father was sitting next to him, and he went like, Hegy úr, kanyar én felém, Hegy úr, kanyar maga fel.
What do you mean?
Constantly picked my father, don't fall asleep, because he would fall asleep.
Oh.
So he was saying it every time when he was driving. He said, Hegy úr, kanyar én felém.
Kanyar is turn. Aim is me, turn towards you. He
So
was keeping awake by doing that.
Didn't want to. The driver didn't want to fall asleep.
By driving, he was driving a horse and buggy or a car?
No, that time they had a truck, and there was a.
This was in the 30s.
And in that time, my father was hiring a truck with the driver.
Let me fix this here. Yeah. I'm gonna get something to drink. Keep going.
Peter, the cops are outside.
I know, I just want to see what this is.
Keep
Go
going.
ahead then. Keep going. Oh, you want water?
Sure.
Or you want an iced tea?
Water.
Dad, can I have an iced tea?
Thank you.
You want one? Or
No,
I
you
have-
can drink it. We have plenty.
Okay.
Alright.
Keep going.
That's not iced tea.
This is iced tea. This is a Diet Snapple iced tea. Go ahead.
Anyway, so my father was traveling. My mother didn't like it
Why?
because all week she was home.
This is before you were born. This was after you were born.
Don't forget, she was pregnant for 9 months, and she was home alone, and the parents,
This is late 1933.
yeah, and the father and mother was on Budapest. So he was in Debrecen, the only relative.
Whose father and mother was in Budapest?
My mother,
Your mother's parents were in Budapest?
I told you that they came from Nagyvárad to Debrecen to Budapest.
But you were still in Debrecen.
I was still in Debrecen.
So your mom stayed in Debrecen?
Yeah.
When her parents lived in Budapest.
Moved
Moved to Budapest.
because Ilonka moved, and my grandparents moved the same time.
Mm.
We weren't talking about Olga.
So your grandparents, your mom's parents moved to Budapest for other reasons. You stayed in Debrecen.
Because Shafran started to sell neckties. And my grandfather, my grandmother, and my younger sister were
Not your sister. You don't have a sister.
my mother, younger sister. The three of them were producing the neckties, and Shafran went town to town to town to sell. That was normal thing.
Got it.
So anyway, after I was born, we lived in Debrecen. I have the birth certificate where what street we lived, I don't know. And my father still was traveling, and my mother didn't like it. So he decided after, I don't know how many years, 1 or 2 after my born, or 3, he decided to open a store in Debrecen. And the store was Késes utca.
Késes utca?
Yeah.
In Hungary, in Debrecen.
Késes utca means Knife Street.
In Debrecen. So when we go visit, make sure you remember that.
Doesn't exist anymore.
Mm.
When you go visit, doesn't exist also. In World War I, they bombed the whole area.
Oh, really? World War II, you mean?
World War II, yeah. So anyway, how are we doing time-wise?
Perfect. Keep going.
We have like 10 minutes
I have 10 minutes?
for this subject, but then we'll continue.
No, when do you have to go?
We're going to leave in about 10 minutes.
Okay.
And then we'll come back and do it again. We'll
Not
continue.
today.
No, not today. We'll continue.
Yeah. But I don't want anybody else here.
No, just the 3 of us.
I don't want I don't want corrections.
Yeah, that's fine. Listen, this is your story.
So anyway, we lived over there, and my life until became school year, which is 7, they put me into Pasti utcai zsidó iskolába. Pasti utcában volt a Statescu templom. He's still there. And on the side was the school, a Jewish school, a regular school. Morning to
So this was 1941? Right before the war?
Yeah, 1941.
You went to school, in a Jewish school.
Yeah.
When you were little.
What's that?
When you were like 7 years old, 8 years old.
I went when I was
That's interesting. I
7.
didn't know that.
It,
I didn't know that.
it took, when you are 7 years old, you go to school. It's no difference than anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
And the temple and the school were next to each. School was this way, the temple was this way. So az udvarba át lehetett menni a templomba.
Udvar is the courtyard.
They go to, you could go to a temple right away. That time and presently, the Statescu temples are separated women and men. Men were on the first floor, women were on a balcony. They still same thing in Hungary, most of the temples. So you go into, for instance, the Dohány Temple, which is the oldest Jewish temple in Budapest, in Europe too. The men are downstairs, the women upstairs. So it's not the schooling was no much excitement. I was a fairly good student. My problem was I was very naughty.
What?
Naughty.
Naughty?
I was in all kind of trouble in everything.
What?
I didn't know that about you, Grandpa.
What'd you do?
Whatever is not supposed to do, I did it.
You like put a pin on the teacher's seat? So
No, I was a pain on the neck, a pain on the ass.
Did you put like a pin on the teacher's seat so when the teacher sat down it would poke them in the butt?
No, that time you couldn't. Teacher didn't touch any kids. But I was a wild kid.
You were a wild kid?
Yeah. I wasn't I was a nice boy, but I was a pain in the neck.
How do you know? Did somebody tell you that that's what you were?
Because I was in all kind of trouble with something. I did.
Your mother came and bailed you out of trouble every time?
My mother came to, my father came too, but not my father was a very gentleman and very elegant. He liked to dress. You should see, I will show you some pictures I have. He was always in a tie, shirt, and a custom-made suit.
The one where you had to lay on the newspaper?
What?
Where you had to lay on the newspaper and then they'd sketch him out? Never mind.
When you describe the peasant suits...
I know, but not when he was traveling. I'm talking about when Saturday.
His custom-made suits were different than the peasant custom-made suits.
His custom-made suit was also English wood, English wool
It was different
material.
It was different than the way they made the peasant.
No, when he was traveling in a pants and a shirt. I mean...
No, we're talking about the different custom suits.
Custom-made suit, that time for the peasants was the peasant Zeig, blue jean, that's all.
Right.
And he was selling probably shoes and whatever. So anyway, my schooling wasn't smooth. I was a naughty kid.
You were a naughty kid.
I was a very smart kid, but I was naughty. It was very difficult to control me. I did whatever I wanted to do.
Good for you.
Eh?
Good for you.
I know. So, schooling was only like 4.
Well, we're talking about kindergarten and first grade, right? We're talking about.
No such a thing as kindergarten in that time.
Okay, so up to what year?
Up to 8.
8 years old.
But that was interrupted when I was deported. That's a different story. So what would you like to know about between year 1 to year 10?
You tell me what you remember about year 1 to year 10.
Year 1, I don't remember. Year 2, no. 3, 4, no.
Well, when you lived there, you lived in what kind of, where'd you live in Debrecen, you remember?
Debrecen, we lived Aranyán. What was that?
That was the water bottle.
Okay. Arany János utca 25.
In Debrecen.
And that was a private house and a big door, a big garden and closed door, and was a little door where you walk in. There was no cars and no horses, no buggies. After. You hungry?
I'm just throwing this out.
Can you fill my out too, please?
Sure.
Okay.
What?
So,
Arany János utca 25.
Arany János.
Arany János utca 25.
Gold John Street 25.
And the good thing was about it, when you walked into the house, there was a front apartment, there was a second apartment, a third apartment, a fourth apartment, I think.
Yeah.
I know who lived in the first one, me, my mother, and you had to go a couple of steps, you went in, and on the left-hand side was the living room, next time was the bedroom, after that was the kitchen, and a maid's room, because that time everybody had a maid. I have a maid when I was 10. If you can afford it, not everybody could afford it, but the Jewish family, 90% they had a maid.
Okay. All right, excellent. So, when we pick this story back up again, we'll pick it up.
Part 2.
Part 2 of what?
Part 2 from part 2 my deportation.
Your deportation. Okay, great.